When you're asked for your social insurance number by someone of authority or someone doing a transaction with you, I say it's time for a fight. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we teach seniors about technology and help them with cybersecurity. In this video titled Fighting for Your Social Insurance Number, Bob Gostischa and I have teed up to make a video to help you keep your social insurance number private. In the first part of the video, I'm going to give you 3 examples of how easy it is to let your social insurance number slip out. And in the second part of the video, Bob Gostischa is going to clearly define who should have access to your social insurance number. But remember, it ultimately is up to you. We can make all the videos in the world. We can tell you all the things you should do, but it is up to you to say no. No, you're not going to get my social insurance number. Let's look at some of the examples today. In particular, seniors are often very vulnerable because they're very accommodating and trusting. So if someone asks for their social insurance number, whether it's a doctor's office or you're doing a transaction, they often take out their social insurance number and give it readily. This is a terrible mistake and one you need to be on your toes about. And that's why we titled it Fighting for Your Social Insurance Number. The next thing I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to open your wallet or your purse. I want you to look through there and see if you're carrying your social insurance card in your possession. This is an extremely bad idea because if your wallet or purse is stolen, it's a very key piece of personal ID will be in the wrong hands. Take your social security card, put it in a safe place in your house, lock it up, and leave it there. If you need it, well, you can go and get it, but don't carry it around with you. Bad idea. So the first example I'd like to give you occurred at Best Buy. Now, this did occur a long time ago, but I wanted to give you this as a good example of what not to do. I expect their policies and procedures have certainly changed by now. So the issue was a return of a modem. I live in Arizona as a winter resident for about 10 years. We had a big new Best Buy on East Southern, and I was always helping people in our resort repair their computers. So in this case, I was returning a modem that was sealed, unopened, and I had a receipt to Best Buy on East Southern. It was a big new store, very exciting to go into. And when I went to the return station, there was a bit of a lineup and there were a number of people accepting returns. I got a very smartly dressed young man who had a nice haircut, he had a tie, and was very well presented. He gave me a big smile, and I said that I would like to return this modem, and here's my receipt. He said, "No problemo, sir. We'll do that right away." Wow, I was pretty impressed. So the first thing he did was look down at his computer, and as he started typing, he said, "Sir, what's your social?" And I thought, what's he want my social insurance number for? So I said, "What's a social?" He then, as he was typing in his computer, I'm sure thought I'm an old guy with gray hair. So he thought that I had a hearing problem. So he just shouted a little louder, "Sir, what's your social?" And I sort of shouted back a little louder at him and said, "What's a social?" Now this really perplexed him, and trying to keep his cool, he looked up to me and thought maybe he's got hearing problems and a bit of dementia. "Sir," he said, "I need your social insurance number to start the return. Can you give me your social insurance number?" And I said to him, "Why do you need my social insurance number?" Now, the answer that he gave me was very typical and one I want you to pay attention to. He said, "I need your social insurance number because it tells me on the screen that I need it, and we need that to start your return." Well, that just wasn't good enough for me. So I thought, I'm going to pull a Canadian trick. So I said to him, "Well, I'm from Canada and we don't have social insurance numbers in Canada." That completely blocked his thought, and he thought for a minute, and off he went to his supervisor. The supervisor came over after a bit of discussion and said to me, "Well, sir," he said, "we do need your social insurance number to start an account to get your return started." He said, we get lots of Canadians coming in with returns. He says, "It's not a problem. Just give me your social insurance number and we can start the return." I said, "I don't remember it. I'm an old guy. I can't remember my social insurance number." And after much discussion, he said, "Well, let's do your driver's license then." Now, I want you to pause that thought because we're going to come back to this example in just a minute because it wasn't so easy with my driver's license either. I was up for a good fight here. We're going to come back to that story in just a moment. So the second incident occurred 1 year earlier. It actually occurred in the same mall. It was a brand new mall on East Southern, and there was a brand new Target store built. Actually, it's right next to Best Buy. So we were there, and I was with my wife, Gail, and we'd never been in a Target store. It was a huge store, multi-level. It just opened that week. So I said to Gail, "I've never been in Target. Let's go and have a look around." So we go into this brand new store. Everything was new. They had lots of staff there, but no customers. We were almost the only ones in the store. So we wandered around, had a look at everything. And on our way out, Gail had picked up a couple of things to buy, and there was a big pallet of beer right by the checkout counter. And you know me, I thought, it's half price. This is a good deal on beer. So I grabbed a case of beer, and Gail had her couple of things to buy. So we went to the checkout. Now, there were like 14 checkout counters, but there was nobody in the store. They only had the first one open, and there was a young girl there looking really smart again. She had all her new checkout equipment there. It was a new computer, new scanners. Everything was brand new. So we put the case of beer on the conveyor belt. Gail put her two things on, and it went down. And as soon as she scanned the beer, the alarms went off. I thought I was going to be arrested. There were alarms flashing and everything. And she said, "That just means that I have to ask you your age." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "I can confirm I'm over 21. She said, "Oh, I know that." But she said, "The new rules are in this machine is that we have to identify you and put your age in." "Oh," I said, "You want my age?" She says, "Yeah." She said, "I need it off your driver's license. Could you just give me your driver's license for a minute?" And I said, "Oh, sure." And I showed it to her, but she said, "No, could you just take it out? I have to put the information in the computer." So I said, "Okay." And I gave her my driver's license. And the next thing I know is that she took it and scanned it. There was an automatic scanner by the till, and she just scanned my driver's license, and there's a magnetic strip on the back. So I was absolutely in horror in that she had scanned my driver's license and taken God knows what off that license as my personal information, all for a case of beer. So I wasn't very happy about that. Gail grabbed my arm and she said, "Now listen, don't you start anything," and off we went. So when we got home that summer, I went and talked to the district manager of our BC Services Center here in our local area, and he really read the riot act about this. He said, "That driver's license is property of British Columbia." He said, "That has very secure, sensitive information on that magnetic strip that only you should be looking at. It sort of has your mother's maiden name. It has a lot of personal information about your accounts, healthcare, etc. There's nobody that should be scanning that information." So that was really stressful. And I'm always careful now in who I give my card to if they want to see my driver's license. And I always hold it in my hand. They certainly have the right to maybe get the driver's license number, but there's no way anyone's going to scan that data. And I might add that the following year, Best Buy had one of their largest data breaches, and most people who had a Best Buy account had their personal information compromised. Just another reason you do not want to give that information out. And just a further discussion, it was about a year later when Target had their massive data breach and all customers' personal data was compromised. Again, it's very important that you must limit that information. And who the heck needs to give you all your personal information, including all the secrets on the back of your driver's license, to buy a case of beer when I'm over 70 years old? Ridiculous. So going back a year earlier at Best Buy, when the manager wanted my driver's license, of course, I was very reluctant to give it to him, and I said he could see the number. Anyway, cooler heads prevailed. We got it all done, but wasn't without a big fight, and no, they didn't get any of my personal data. The third point I wanted to mention was a time when I was in Mesa and I was at the dentist. Yes, I was at an endodontist needing a root canal, big office, lots of dentists. And of course, I'm sitting there by the reception filling in some information. And of course, this was a weird reception room. It had one receptionist that was behind, you know, those plexiglass windows with the hole in it. So it was, I never seen anything quite that old. Anyway, the patients would come up and a very efficient receptionist would say, "Mrs. Smith, this is, of course, your name. Yes. Is this is 61 da 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 da, your social insurance? Yes. Is this your phone number? Yes." And would go and list all the personal data off. And of course, the person behind the patient would be saying, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." And I'm sitting right by the window. If I just turn my recorder on, I would have captured everybody's personal data. I had to wait about 30 minutes. I'm sure there was about 15 people that came up to that window and spouted out all their personal data, including the social insurance number. Again, that would be something that you should challenge. Now, I want to talk about the relationship between your social insurance number and healthcare. Now, in Canada and the United States, the reason for having a social insurance number is the same. It's access to government services. In other words, the government gives you a number and that allows you to access government services. Now, most often you would use this in the form of taxation to file your federal income tax. In the United States, it gets a little more complicated, and the history is this. Each state has a Medicare program. This is funded by the federal government, and the money flows through the various states. Now, the federal government contracted Equifax, not to administer the program, but to help with identifiers. In other words, they wanted to make sure they had a national identifier that would identify who the people receiving the services are. And this, of course, was the social insurance number. And that's how social insurance numbers initially used in healthcare in the United States. And of course, that went on to HMOs, it went on to labs, x-rays. All the services in healthcare started to use social insurance numbers as an identifier. This went along for a while, and then we had the big Equifax disaster that occurred in 2017. This was one of the first and largest hacks that released people's name associated with their social insurance number. And it's estimated about 2/3 of all residents in the United States had their social insurance numbers leaked. This had a huge effect and involved many of the states suing Equifax. Some Equifax employees even went to jail. There were many fines levied, and a lot of money was paid from Equifax back to the various people who were harmed. The problem, of course, was they needed to change the system so that the social insurance number was not an identifier. And as you see here, the old healthcare Medicare card has your identifier as your social insurance number. Well, that's not true now. It's all changed, and there's a different identifier that is not your social insurance number. There are probably, though, some legacy systems or some old holdovers that always just seem to want your social insurance number, but that's not needed anymore. So in summary, it's your responsibility. It might be a bit of a fight, but do not give that number out, even if somebody asks you, unless they give you a darn good reason why you should release it. And it shouldn't be just because the computer requires it. All right, let's move on to Bob Gostischa's excellent video, and he clearly defines who should have access to your personal data. So let's have a look at the video.
So, what's really personal information? Today, I'm diving into a crucial topic, understanding personal information and how to protect it. In this digital age, it's more important than ever to know what information is truly personal, what you can safely share, and what you should always keep private. Let's get started. What is personal information? Personal information includes any data that can be used to identify you. It can be divided into two main categories. Basic information, such as your name, address, phone number, and email address. And sensitive information, which includes your social security number, passport number, credit card and bank account details, medical records, passwords, and PINs. Let's talk about what you can reasonably share. Basic information is often necessary to share in everyday situations. For instance, when you're shopping online, you need to provide your name, address, and payment details to trusted retailers. Professional networking on platforms like LinkedIn involves sharing your name, job title, and work email. Now, what about the information you occasionally need to share? Sensitive information should be shared cautiously. Share your medical information only with healthcare providers when necessary. Financial details should be given to banks and trusted financial institutions. Your social security number and passport number should only be shared with government agencies, employers, and verified financial entities. What should you never share? Never share your passwords and PINs with anyone. Avoid sharing full credit card information unless you are on a secure, reputable website. And never share personal information on social media or public websites. When and where to share information. Only provide your personal information on verified websites. Look for HTTPS in the URL and a padlock symbol indicating a secure site. Share sensitive information only with trusted institutions and official requests from verified government or financial entities. When can you refuse and still gain access? You don't always have to share your information to gain access. If a website or service requests more information than necessary, question why. For example, a newsletter sign-up shouldn't need your social security number. Decline to share personal information for marketing or promotional purposes. And if certain information is marked as optional, you can choose not to provide it. Tips for protecting your personal information. Use strong passwords combining letters, numbers, and special characters. Enable two-factor authentication for an extra layer of security. Regularly monitor your accounts for any unauthorized activity. And be wary of phishing scams. Avoid clicking on suspicious links or emails. Understanding what information is truly personal and knowing when and where to share it can help you better protect your privacy and avoid potential security risks. Stay informed, stay cautious, and always prioritize the safety of your personal information.
Bob Gostischa and I had a lot of fun making this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Don't forget that like and subscribe. Click the notification and we'll notify you for our next video. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon.